So let's talk about community development. I know one thing I want to touch on was the Lincoln Park project. Let's talk about that.
Lincoln Park and my participation in that is really it's something else. It's really interesting to me. And I was telling the executive director that I became aware of Lincoln Park and its story when I was at NYU. I was getting working on a master's of science in real estate.
Which, by the way, pause. That's where I went to school. That was my
That's right. That's right.
that was my graduate degree. So yeah, no, they NYU really catered to the working professional.
Yes.
And that was one of their biggest draws, and they could because they're in New York, right? So I'm happy to see that you actually attended that school for the short period of time that you did. That's awesome. So we have a lot of things in common: the HBCU background,
Indeed.
the NYU background, the community involvement. So
Exactly.
again, this is why I wanted to have you on. So thanks again. So going back to your Lincoln Park, tell me a little more about that again.
So I took real estate economics. I had Hannigan. I don't know who you had.
Oh yeah. I think I had Hannigan.
She was great.
She was amazing, wasn't she?
Great. I really enjoyed that class. And what was so interesting for me at the time is that subprime was exploding as I was just getting started in the program and taking her class.
Right.
So we're talking about subprime and then the whole financial crisis. And we had to write a story about something. So, I've worked in Newark for Prudential 4 summers and 2 winter breaks.
Right.
Why not talk about why Newark is the way it is right now? Talk about Newark real estate. And Lincoln Park came up in my research, and I said, wow, this is really interesting. I'm glad that they're doing their thing, and this is an interesting story to hear what they're doing with respect to the development of affordable housing, the cultural work that they're doing with not just a fundraising opportunity, but the cultural work to have a festival every year, music festival every year. So this is really groundbreaking. And I saw that the director was doing some additional coursework at a program at Harvard as I think it's a Loeb Fellow, and I'm like, wow, this is really interesting to see all these different things.
Yeah.
And development was kind of something I was thinking about at some point in time. So fast forward a few years later, we were talking about the aftermath of the death of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. After that summer that we had last year, CBRE started paying a lot more attention to what was going on. They were always doing something, but started paying a lot more attention. And so basically what happened is I had the opportunity to do more reaching out to community organizations. And I reached out to the Newark College Learning Community. I may be butchering the name, but let's say NCLC.
Okay.
Touch base with a wonderful new executive director who went to Spelman, Robin Hintz, and she led me to this person and that person who connected me eventually with Anthony Smith, who is the executive director of Lincoln Park. So I said, oh, this is great. I get to have a conversation with, it's kind of like geeking out a little bit with Lincoln Park LPCCD. So it was, first I started talking about how we might help, and at the time they were working on a great program to create more incremental developers, small developers who might be able to develop small projects in the neighborhood. They had a partner for larger projects, but there were still a number of things that needed to be done. They were too small for the big guys, and still do.
Right.
And they had an additional cohort which was extremely successful. I kind of sat in on the classes, had some great learning experiences asynchronously and also in Zoom sessions. And I said, this is wonderful, and I'd love to see how many different ways CBRE could be helpful in all of this. And those conversations are still ongoing.
Yeah.
But they asked me to be on the board, and
Awesome.
and I said yes. So Lincoln Park is, along with a progressive mayor who is so focused on affordable housing and taking Newark forward.
Yes.
And urban renewal without urban removal. Let's not find ways to to price the people out of the homes that they've been living in. Let's find ways to make their lives better.
Hold on, let's pause. I hate to keep on doing this, but let's let that breathe for a little bit. Go ahead and repeat that one more time for me. You just dropped the crazy part. Go ahead.
Urban renewal without urban removal.
Mm.
So many places the people get pushed out.
Yeah. The same thing's happening here in Philadelphia, right behind us. I mean, in almost every major city nowadays can attest to this. But continue on, sorry.
So, Lincoln Park is focused on making the neighborhood better for the people who live there. And if there's an attraction of other people to the area, I mean, I've toyed with the idea of moving back to Newark. I lived in Newark for 2 years when I came out of college and had a great time. 40 minutes door to door to the east side of Manhattan from where I lived, across from Gateway Center. But I wasn't really a part of the community. I was, Newark was where I kept my stuff.
Right.
And, I'd come home, shower, and get back across the river. But there are a lot of people who are like that. And if you look at how neighborhoods and towns have changed from to Morristown, to Rahway, to Montclair, Hoboken, Harrison, all of these areas along the path line, along New Jersey Transit, have seen such renewal. But a lot of them have also seen some different things happening for the folks who were living there, and in the more affordable sections. So Newark doesn't want to do that.
Okay.
And they don't want to price their folk out. They don't want to lose the base. We just want to make it better.
Right.
And I'm just so excited to be part of a group that is focused on creative placemaking and looking to through the projects that it undertakes to make life better for this neighborhood, and then also to start to create a cadre of developers and professionals who can do this here, and hopefully one day outside of Lincoln Park, which is a defined neighborhood within the city, do these things in different places.
Right.
My church is in the North Ward.
Okay.
There's opportunities in the North Ward to make life better for the people who were there. So I looked at Lincoln Park, in part, selfishly, how can we learn from what you're doing to maybe one day, make the North Ward better for the people that live in the North Ward.
Right.
And everywhere else, in all the communities that surround us. As we look at what's happening in East Orange, the renewal that's happening there. Bloomfield is going through something, but the Oranges are experiencing, East Orange and Orange are experiencing some interesting projects and an interesting environment. So why not make things better for the people who live there?
Awesome.
Where are these folks going to go if they get priced out?
Right.
Look at what happened to the Bronx.
Yeah, awesome. And when you get all this information, I want you to share it with me, so I could do the same thing here to Philadelphia, man. Because we really have to keep these cities intact. I guess talked in other interviews I've done. A lot of these cities are a tale of two. You have your hot neighborhoods, then you have your neighborhoods that are still struggling. So it's important that they're showing you, or you're a part of a program like Lincoln Park, and we need to do stuff like that here in Philadelphia. And we may have that already here, but it's good that people like yourself and myself are a part of these, so we can be the ones to go in the community and kind of get things activated. Right. And like you said, drop that bar one more time for everybody. Drop that bar one more time, please.
Urban renewal without urban removal.
Man,
which is not like
that's
a
powerful.
Tagline. It's just something. Yeah. It's just not even mine. I heard this someplace, but it's so important for us to think about renewal without having everything change about who lives there.
Right.
We love integration. We love folks coming in and sharing. That's what makes community. And Howard Thurman has a wonderful quote about community, but I'm not going to butcher it here. But you need new people coming. Right. But you also need to make sure that you're not further oppressing the people who were previously oppressed. For us to beautify a neighborhood so other folks can live here is extremely offensive. Yeah. Why are we adding more shade, in these hot neighborhoods, urban neighborhoods where Black and brown people live are typically hotter than places where Black and brown people do not live, or live in lower concentrations. Why are we beautifying the streets so somebody else can come and live here?
Right.
And what's really interesting, and I just heard this last night as I'm driving in, so thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem.
There was a guy at the eviction lab at Princeton, who runs the eviction lab at Princeton, Matthew Desmond or something like that. I got to go back and read his book. Talking about the research that they have undertaken to understand how much people are paying to live in lesser desired neighborhoods, or neighborhoods populated by people of low wealth, with higher degrees of poverty. Wow. And how that stretches back even to the Great Migration, to where you've got neighborhoods where folks are paying not too different a rental rate, median rental rate
Okay.
than more suburban neighborhoods with less population of persons of low wealth and less poverty.
Wow.
So, you know, if the delta is within $100,
Right.
but the services are not the same. So now you're
Talk about
charging, it's almost like credit. You're charging the folks at lower income
Okay.
more money
Okay.
for a lesser product.
Preach.
And how do we do that and expect for folks to be able to make it? And, you know, we had talked about the eviction crisis in the country, and of course the lack of housing in general, but certainly affordable housing, and how that impacts future generations of Black and brown people. You know, it's a continuate, like, you know, I was listening to somebody talk about reconciliation, and reconciliation is impossible before repair happens. Truth and reconciliation ought not, you know, there's something in between that. We have to have truth, we have to have repair and reconciliation. And one of the ways that we repair damage done by folks, you know, Du Bois talks about the Philadelphia Negro.
Right.
These people all of them weren't always here. Some of these people came from down south. They were oppressed there. They came here. They were oppressed here.
Right.
They've been oppressed all along.
Right.
And now we expect for things to be hunky-dory.
Right. Right.
And then we want to move them out of their neighborhoods.
All right, let it breathe. You keep on putting just so many gems out there. I really do appreciate it. You obviously got your pastor hat on just now, and I do appreciate you sharing all that great information